Hey guys, Michael Kummer here, and in today's video I want to tell you everything there is to know about how I've implemented UniFi or UniFi's networking equipment in our home to cover the house in spotless Wi-Fi. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel and you click on the little alert button so you get notified when I publish more tech videos like this. Alright guys, before we get on to the house tour where I show you how I've deployed UniFi in the various rooms and how my network rack etc. looks like, I want to just briefly tell you how I ended up with UniFi. A couple of years ago, when we moved in from an apartment into a house, we realized that a single router, especially the one supplied by the ISP, wasn't able to cover the whole house in Wi-Fi. And if you're watching this video, you're probably aware of the issue. If you have anything that's greater than a studio apartment, using a single router or a single access point or Wi-Fi router to cover everything is almost impossible. You're gonna have dead spots, you're gonna have issues, weak signal, etc. And that's something I wanted to avoid. And right at the time, some companies came out with mesh networking technologies, like Ubiquiti came out with Amplify. That's a mesh networking equipment that I've reviewed a lot. So check out my reviews on Amplify to learn more about that. But it's basically consumer grade mesh networking technology where you can deploy different nodes or mesh points, if you will, and they communicate with each other and provide very good Wi-Fi coverage. And as part of my deployment of Amplify, I realized that Ubiquiti also had a commercial brand, UniFi. UniFi is more geared towards the mid-market, I want to say, small, medium enterprises and prosumers. Like, I would consider myself a prosumer. I have somewhat of a technical background, so I can configure networking equipment, etc. And so I figured maybe UniFi would be a good choice for me because it gives you a lot of flexibility. It's not one device that does it all. Well, the UniFi Dream Machine kind of is. It's like an all-in-one entry-level gateway drug into the UniFi platform, if you will. But generally speaking, you get different components with UniFi that you can swap out and upgrade as you see fit. Much like if you put together a gaming PC, you have different components that you can upgrade when you see fit, instead of having a MacBook or a Mac where you can't do anything except upgrading the memory maybe. And so I stumbled across UniFi and I decided to give UniFi a go. And I started out with a UniFi Security Gateway, which is the router and firewall, and a UniFi Switch, an 8-port switch with power over Ethernet. And I think I had 3 access points: the UniFi AP HD, the high definition version, and then 2 access point Pros that I deployed. We had, back at the time, we had a ranch style home, 3,300 square feet approximately. And so with those 3 access points, I could cover the whole house in Wi-Fi, and I connected everything via Ethernet. So there was the distance between the different nodes wasn't an issue. And in January of this year, of 2020, we moved into a new house with the 3 levels basically. It's a main level where most of our life happens, and then we have a partially finished basement and a loft area and an unfinished attic that has been spray foamed that makes it easy to lay cables and stuff. And so that's kind of the challenge that I had at that point when we moved. I brought over all of my UniFi equipment and I wanted to figure out how I can best deploy them and what upgrades I would make to cover those, at the end of the day, 3 levels of the house in good Wi-Fi. And I also wanted to have good Wi-Fi signal outside, in the backyard as well as on the front side of the house. And so let me walk you through it and I'll explain you exactly how I deployed it, what devices I deployed, why I chose them, what I upgraded, and everything else that you need to know. So let's get going. Alright, so let's start with the house tour and I'll point out the infrastructure as we see it. So the first one is up here actually, just outside of the room here. It's one of the UniFi Access Point Pros that I have installed here, and that pretty much covers the finished and unfinished basement. So this is part here of our basement with kids room and everything, and behind here is my YouTube studio. And so let's walk into the unfinished section and I'll show you where my server rack is. Alright, so this is the unfinished part of our basement, and I chose to put my server rack here simply because the temperature is always around between 67 and 72 degrees, even without any AC here. So it stays relatively cool. And so here is my server rack where I have most of my equipment, and the core of it is a UniFi Dream Machine Pro that I just recently put in by replacing the UniFi Dream Machine that I had before. But I took out up here you can still see the box. I had the UniFi Dream Machine, but it was inside of the cage, and the UDM has wireless radios built in, and there is obviously no sense in having wireless radios if you put the device inside of a steel cage. And so I replaced it with the UniFi Dream Machine Pro, also because the UDM Pro can act as my UniFi Protect machine as well. So all my UniFi security cameras, like the one up here and then the ones I have on the outside, they all feed into a 4 terabyte drive that's inside of the UDM Pro. So the UDM Pro is my switch, my router, security gateway, my UniFi Protect storage and controller, and the UniFi controller as well. So all of that's in here. I've mentioned in the intro, I started out with a UniFi Security Gateway back in the days and a separate cloud key. And then over time I replaced it with the cloud key generation 2. You can see that here. It's still plugged in, but not in use anymore. So that used to be my UniFi Protect storage before I replaced it with the UDM. And up here I have a UniFi Switch Pro that in fact I bought by accident because I thought it had power over Ethernet switch ports, but it doesn't. So I'm just using it as a regular switch, and I still use the original UniFi switch that I got a couple of years ago, because this one has power over Ethernet. So it feeds all of my access points, or most of them, the cloud key here that's still plugged in, and some of the cameras. Now from a electricity and wiring perspective, I've done here something that's probably unconventional, and I'm not sure if it's best practice, but I did it anyway because I wanted to remove as much equipment from my office, which is upstairs, as possible, including any uninterruptible power supplies. So I have 3 battery APCs in here that provide power in case there is an outage, and one of them is actually plugged in, or there is a cable that goes from the back of the UPS into this power outlet, and this power outlet feeds up into my office where my iMac and all the other equipment are plugged in. So if I unplug this guy, which would be a hot plug because it's fed by the UPS, then all of my office, or most of my office, would be powered offline. And so I decided to do this because I can then have the UPS down here and I don't need it upstairs, and all my power basically is controlled from here. And the lower one, that's the grid power. So that feeds into a panel. In fact, it feeds into this panel here, a power panel that's called, I labeled it with grid. And all 3 UPSs are plugged in here. So they all feed off this appliance here that gets fed by the grid. And then every UPS, or I have 2 more of these power panels, and they are plugged into one of the UPSs each, so that I can plug in all the other devices. So basically all of my devices are battery backed up, but spread out across 3 different UPSs. One is dedicated to my office, and then 2 for everything that I have here. Then here I have my cable modem that's connected directly with the UDM Pro, obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much it down here. And with that, I would say let's walk up and I'll show you some of the other stuff that I have installed. Okay, one thing that I wanted to point out as well is here you can see the Ethernet cables that run across the whole house. And when we moved into this house, I told the electrician that I want to have Ethernet outlets in at least 1 outlet in every room. And then for every access point and all the security cameras on the outside, I want to have Ethernet as well. So some of those cables feed into my server rack, obviously. And the advantage of having a house with an unfinished attic and a partially finished basement is that you get access to the main level from both sides. So here we can, I'm not sure if you can see that here very well, but this is here a completely unfinished area of our basement, and that sits directly underneath my office. So we can go straight up with Ethernet and run the cables across the house. That's super easy, and I'm really happy that's the case here. So level of the house, and so my strongest access point is up there. It's the UniFi Access Point HD. I know that you're supposed to install it that way, but it fit nicer like so, and it provides really good coverage across the main level here. And then just as a sort of a backup, we have a second access point in the loft area. I'm going to show you that. So that's up here. That used to be part of the unfinished attic, and the previous owners finished that part and put in a loft. And there is another access point that provides pretty good coverage in addition to the one in our family room. And then right here is my office, and there is a little bit of an echo inside, so the audio might not be as good, but bear with me. But this is basically where most of the magic happens in terms of all my work that I do from here. And if you want to come around here, you'll see that this is where, interestingly, most of my Ethernet cables end up. So I have here a panel, obviously labeled because otherwise I would not know what's going on. And so all of these cables, some of them go down to the basement. So you can see here there is the basement, two basement ports. So we have 2 gigabit connections between the switch up here and the switch down there, and then some of the other rooms and access points that we have here. And then here I have a UniFi switch that does have power over Ethernet ports, 8 of them, and then 8 regular ones. And then one of the old UniFi switches with 8 ports that I'm not using right now. But basically here, most of my Ethernet comes in here, and then from here into the basement. And the other thing I want to point out is down there you can see the power outlet, and this is the outlet that is connected with the basement. So if I unplug this guy, then obviously all of that would be dead, no power. But also the power outlet here in the floor next to my desk, that's fed by the basement as well. And then I think there is another one back here in the wall, and all of those feed directly into the basement. So if I unplug the basement, we'd be in the dark here. Well, we would not be in the dark, but networking wise or power wise, we'd be offline. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's one more thing that I wanted to show you that I have used to extend the reach a little bit towards the other side of the house, the garage. So I can feed all of my IoT equipment, like the garage door openers, HomeKit enabled, etc. So those devices are a little bit finicky and need good connectivity. So I've extended that a little bit. So let's head out and I'll show you that. Okay, so we're now on the other side of the house, and this is the garage where I have the HomeKit enabled garage door opener, and then some of those light switches are HomeKit enabled. And so they are not too far away from the access point over here, but that's like providing coverage more towards this side of the house. So what I've done is down here, I think they call it the UniFi Beacon here, hidden behind the shoe rack a little bit, but this is an access point as well that connects wirelessly. So this is the only UniFi device really that is not wired up, and that communicates with the switch up there that I've shown you before in the family room, and that provides more coverage on this side. So when I come in and I use Siri to open the garage or close the garage, then I have proper coverage over there. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So a couple of access points, a couple of switches, UniFi Dream Machine Pro to do all the core networking and routing and controlling, etc. And with that, let's wrap it up. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that house tour. I hope you could get some tips and tricks out of what I showed you, maybe to get ideas on how you want to deploy UniFi in your home or in your place of business. Again, the reason why I chose UniFi and why I really like the brand and their hardware and software is because it's super flexible. They constantly come up with new devices, with new technology that spans beyond core networking. They have an access solution, for doors. They have UniFi Protect, the video surveillance system that I also have deployed here. They have LED lighting panels. They have a lot of things that all integrate nicely together. So you can really go in a lot of different directions with UniFi. And one of the things that I really appreciate about UniFi is it's very feature rich, the platform is. You can do a lot of things that are often reserved for more enterprise grade equipment, like intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, all at wire speed basically, so very high performance, but at the same time, it's super easy to configure. So even if you don't have a PhD in IT or in networking, you can figure it out. They have great software, great web portals and everything that makes the configuration relatively simple if you just know a little bit about networking, like IP addresses and net masks, etc. If you know that, then you're pretty much good to go and you can set up UniFi. So let me know how you like this video by leaving a comment below and giving it a thumbs up or thumbs down. And if you have any questions about deploying UniFi, any questions about what device to pick, or what do you want to use or should you use the UniFi Dream Machine versus UniFi Dream Machine Pro versus the UniFi Security Gateway Pro, whatever it is, leave me a comment and I'll either reply directly, or if I don't know the answer, I'll get it for you.